welcome, Danny. It's nice to meet you. Let's talk about how you become to think of becoming a chiropractor. What did you do before? Where did it all start?
That's a good question, and it started way back when I forget now, I was about 15 or 16, and before then I always wanted to be a lawyer, so I haven't always wanted to be a chiropractor.
Before you were 15, you know at 15 what you wanted to do with your life? That's amazing.
Way before then, actually. I was about 4 or 5, and I actually knew what a lawyer was, believe it or not. So when I got to 15 or 16, where my journey towards chiropractic starts,
right.
I used to exercise an awful lot. I used to do kickboxing 3-4 times a week and football a couple of times a day.
Yeah.
Being from Liverpool, we all played football.
And you all did the kickboxing?
Yeah, not necessarily.
Right.
But that was good for keeping me fit and healthy. So I'm about 5'7" now, but when I was 15 or so, I was about 5 foot nothing.
So grown since. That's
yeah.
Right.
So a lot of the people I was coming up against in kickboxing tournaments were a lot bigger than me. So I wanted to get some weights to get bigger and stronger. And I remember to this day, my dad said to me, "You're not old enough to be lifting weights, you'll injure yourself." And I said, "Well, it's my birthday, I want some weights, can you get me some weights?"
Yeah.
So I got weights for my birthday, and I injured myself. I injured the low back and also a shoulder injury as well.
Right.
That kind of led me on to this journey because I started to see a physiotherapist, which for me didn't really work a great deal. So then the next profession I went to see was an osteopath.
So why doesn't physiotherapy work for you? Because it would get rid of the pain.
Yeah, for me personally, it didn't do a lot in that, it might have made me feel better at the time, but it didn't really as you said, get rid of the pain, and it didn't give me any correction.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say it doesn't work for people out there. It does work for some people. It just didn't work for me. And I hear that a lot from patients myself today. I've seen a physio, and it didn't really do much, but it works for some, of course.
Right, yeah, well, I had a physiotherapist experience which was coincidental with some bias, but that's a different story altogether. But that was actually an experience where I thought this person had needed too much, where it actually then paralyzed my shoulder. But that was obviously probably just coincidental. And that's, with 15, it was your birthday, 15th birthday, when you asked your dad to get you the weights and everything?
It must have been, because I remember saying I wanted them for my birthday. 15 or so, I don't remember now, to be honest with you.
That's a while ago.
Yeah, it was 20 odd years ago, plus. Yeah.
Okay, so you injured yourself with weights, and then you didn't like the physiotherapist, and that led you straight onto the chiropractor?
No, it was via osteopathy. So before I became a chiropractor, I actually did 3.5 years of osteopathic training.
So at 15, you were at school at 15?
15, I was still at school, yeah.
Did you finish at 16, or did you do the A-levels, or what did you do?
I did A-levels, yeah. So I did my GCSEs, then I did A-levels, and I had already, by that point, would have been 17 or so, applied for university to do law.
Right, okay.
This was before I'd made up my mind that I wanted to. Initially, I was going to be an osteopath, and then eventually I became a chiropractor.
Right.
So when I was 18, I went to osteopathic college, which was part-time, so I was working full-time, 5 days a week in an office, which was a really stressful job, but that's by the by. So I was studying part-time, and most of the people in my class were kind of like 40, maybe 50 plus midlife career change, whereas this was about to be my first career. So I did 3.5 years of that, and my college closed down. I could see the finish line there, so
what a shame.
Yeah, as you can imagine, at the time I was a little bit upset.
Yeah. Why did it close down? What was the problem there then?
Well, both professions, both chiropractic and osteopathy, were getting regulated in the year 2000.
Okay.
So from that point onwards, you couldn't be a chiropractor or an osteopath without being on the register.
Right.
In other words, it'd be a criminal offence if you weren't on the register. So all part-time colleges in both professions had to be full-time. And there was a few other things, stipulations for colleges staying open or not.
Oh my God.
So my college went. So I could see the finish line. Luckily, I got qualifications out of it. I became a sports massage therapist. There was a lot of foundations laid from osteopathy that's helped me in chiropractic. So I remember one of my mentors at the time, he says to me, why don't you become a chiropractor, Danny? There's an osteopath mentor saying that, and there's kind of professional banter between the two professions, and it's kind of unusual to hear an osteopath say become a chiropractor and vice versa. Because if you're in college with me, Dirk, in osteopathic college, a lot of the osteopathic tutors would be bad-mouthing the chiropractors and the physios, and then fast forward years later in chiropractic college, the tutors would bad-mouth the osteopaths and physios.
Really?
Yeah, so professional banter, but kind of childish, really. So I ended up taking the best bits out of both professions.
Okay, so just to recap for myself, to understand the process, you had to become a physiotherapist first? And then move on to chiropractor?
No, that's just what happened for me, and it wasn't physiotherapy, it was osteopathy.
Osteopathy, sorry.
So had my college not closed down, I would now be an osteopath.
Right.
However, it did close down, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
See, things like that in life happen for a reason. We spoke about you being in the middle of all your qualifications, studying, and then your college closed down. Sorry, I find that quite funny. Don't know why. But yeah, what did you do?
Yeah, well, looking back, it is quite funny, to be honest with you. It wasn't at the time. So the osteopathic college closed down. When was that? I'm just trying to think. Year 2000, that was. So quite a few years ago. And I remember both professions were getting regulated at the time, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
You know, so if the colleges weren't full time, they went. So mine went off to do chiropractic training in year 2001. After an osteopath friend recommended, why don't you become a chiropractor? Because all the osteopathic colleges, the ones that remained, were private. They were like 7 to 10 grand a year. Way before course fees and university came in, this was. Now obviously university is a lot more expensive too. So I went off in South Wales, just outside Cardiff, Welsh Institute of Chiropractic. That's where I did my 5 years of chiropractic training, which was really intense. It's like, you know, you hear of some degree courses where students might study for 2 hours a week and then that's it. We had like 25 to 30 hours a week of lectures and at least 25 to 30 hours a week on your own as well. So it was really intense. As I mentioned earlier, doing both osteopathy and chiropractic helped me become a much better doctor today. I often joke today, Dirk, that I'm a chiropath or an osteopractor because I've moulded the best bits together to give best care to my patients today.
So while you were studying 25 hours, you were already practicing for somebody's practice as a chiropractor?
No, I was that was undergraduate training in university, 5 years. So from 2001 to 2006, I did 5 years of chiropractic training in university, which was really intense. And then from 2006 onwards, I've been practicing, which is almost 10 years now.
But all your years of studying prior to your college closing down, they were all recognised?
No, not even a little bit of it. No. So I actually had to do a foundation year, which was what they call. Yeah, well, I even had to start before the beginning. It was called pre-chiropractic.
How pissed off must you have been?
Oh, just a little bit. But then I remember speaking to my older brother when I'd just been for my interview at the university near Cardiff. And I said, "They're making me do an extra year, Wayne." And he said to me, "What's 1 year in your life, Daniel?" And I actually said that to him a few weeks ago when he said to me he was upset about something completely unrelated, but I remembered the conversation. He said, "Oh, it's going to be a year." And I said, "Do you remember this conversation we had in the year 2000? He said, "No, what was that?" I said, "You said to me, what's 1 year?" And at the time, I didn't get it, but I totally got it. You know, later on, he said, "You know what, that's good advice, that day." I said, "I know, it's the advice you gave me."
I know how frustrating it must have been because I'm going through something very similar because of my qualifications not being recognised in this country. I have recently reopened my case, and I thought, having been in the country for such a long time, and with reference and experience in the profession, same for 30 years, it would just be plain sailing to get it recognised because you think that the directives are very similar now, they have spoken to one another, but no, everybody's digging their heel in. The German Association for Opticians and Optometry are doing the same thing as they're doing here. They should recognise each other, but they don't talk to one another, so it's a complete nightmare. So I have to prove to them now that I'm qualified or more qualified than necessary to just get the whole things done, but I have to produce the syllabus, the directives in fine detail. And when you're my age, they have rewritten this 4 times. And I'm dealing with people at the General Optical Council who are half my age, and they're saying, well, you've got to do it differently, sir. Yeah, so I can imagine how frustrating it must have been.
I can feel your pain.
I'm feeling it now. But you've survived it. I'm trying to survive it.
Well, what they say, don't they? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So
yeah, okay, let's hope it doesn't kill me in the interim. Great. Yes. So once you had your qualifications, what happened?
Well, it was in 2006 I graduated. I went travelling around Western and Eastern Europe for about 6 weeks with a good mate of mine.
That's to clear your head.
Yeah, to do some partying, or do some more partying, because all the way through university I worked hard and played hard. It's the only way I've ever been able to stay in balance, really.
Right.
So in the year 2006 I moved over to Dublin. It was the last trip.
So you moved to Dublin?
Yeah,
from South Wales?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were talking before, weren't we? I have moved around quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I practiced in Dublin from 2006 to 2009, just over 3 years.
Okay.
I remember getting to Dublin because a couple of good friends lived there. That was the last stop on my trip around Eastern and Western Europe.
Okay.
I stayed there for a week, and I remember getting there and I thought, I want to practice here for a bit. So I picked up their equivalent to the yellow pages, I think they call it the golden pages.
Right.
Ripped out the 2 pages of chiropractors, rang every one of them. The first one I spoke to was the job I wanted, and that's the job I got.
Wow.
Which was
fantastic.
Yeah, so I stayed there for 3 years. That was great.
Uh-huh.
And I just felt it was time to come back to the UK. Coincidentally, it's when their economy went south massively. But
right.
you know, I was ready to come home anyway.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Great. Welcome back. This is businessradio.co.uk. My name is Dirk, and I'm in company of Dr. Danny Scahill, chiropractor. So while we're off air, you told me that for relaxation and, well, as a complete opposite type, that you have a hobby which relates to trance music and DJing.
That's correct.
DJing trance music. Come on, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, the music would be, I guess you could say, my first love, and it has been for a long, long time.
Okay.
I remember years ago, and for those of the listeners that can remember the rave scene, years and years ago in the late 90s and late 80s and early 90s. I would have been about 10 when this was at its peak, and I've got an older brother and sister who are 8 and 10 years older than me.
Okay.
So I used to remember hearing all these rave tunes, as it used to be called back in the day. So I used to go and buy rave tapes at the market. 10-year-old, picture that, buying rave tapes at the market, because I loved the music. So I've loved the music like for the last 25, 26 years.
Hated you.
Possibly, particularly when I got some decks, you know, with the records in the vinyl.
Really?
Yes.
In your room? Oh my God.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I've been into dance music forever, pretty much, and I've been DJing since about 20, so nearly 16 years. No, actually over 16 years now. And yeah, I've DJed in lots of different places. DJed a lot in Cardiff, you know, when I was in
So you didn't do the same thing? You went to the golden pages and just ripped the pages out and rang the
No, not at all, no.
Did you do that?
No. Well, back in the things have changed today, but back in the day, going to a nightclub, you meet the promoter, give them a CD or a tape or whatever. If they liked it, then you got a gig.
They would play? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. You'd meet them personally and you give them a tape back in the day or a CD a bit later on. And they'd listen to it, and if they liked your style and your ability, you'd get a gig. So I always.
So what did you do back in the day? You just started mixing music that you thought would work with people, and then you burnt it on the CD, or?
Well, back in the day.
Do you remember tapes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I said. We used to do tapes initially when I first got the 1210s. There's some Technics vinyl and then a mixer. That was attached. The mixer was attached to in the back of the day, a tape deck, and the mix would be recorded on the tape. You copy the tape, you give it to a promoter. If they like it, you get the gig. And then back a bit further on, the mixer could be attached to a computer, so you record the audio straight onto the computer and burn a CD. Now, whether it was a tape or a CD, you'd give it to the promoter. If they liked it, you got a gig. When that was still fair game, if you like.
But those were the days when you would really be meeting the promoter.
Exactly.
You don't meet them anymore, do you?
No.
You have to now go to SoundCloud or something kind of fabulous where you just send your link and then hopefully they bother to listen into it.
It's much more like that now, yeah. It's much less personal. You're spot on with that, yeah. Because I haven't met a promoter for quite a long time. You can meet them if you get introduced to them. However, give them a CD. Half of them won't even have anywhere to put a CD these days, you know what I mean? Never mind the tape. You know, a lot of the promoters would be too young to even remember tapes, you know. So I think the game has changed massively, you know. So if you're not producing your own records, you know, your own music, it's very, very difficult to get into it now.
So you have found quite a nice balance in your life where you're working a little bit here to sustain a nice lifestyle and then go to London and do a little bit of gigging here and there to keep your sanity going.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's very good. Maybe I should consider that. Less of the work and find something that really interests me, which then relaxes me to the extent that I don't have to stick to the 9 to 7 job. Also, yeah, that would be really, that's a good point actually.
Yeah, it's really helpful because as a chiropractor, I always talk to people about you've got to get things into balance.
Yeah.
You know, as a chiropractor, I talk about eat well, move well, think well, and you'll be well.
Right.
So many people are so far out of balance. You know, when they come in to see me, they've got some back pain, neck pain, or headaches or something.
Yeah.
And that's going to be something on a physical nature, but it's also going to be something on an emotional level in most cases, you know. So there's 3 main stressors in anyone's life, really. Physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. Now,
chemical stress?
Yeah, you know, what you put into your body, you know,
right.
what you drink and what you eat.
Okay.
So a lot of the food and drink that the Western world at least consume on a daily basis is toxic for the body. So that's going to affect you. You know, what happens emotionally, chemically, can affect you physically and vice versa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense because you may be aware of this. Recently, I interviewed Stuart Wilkinson, a personal trainer.
Good friend of mine, yeah.
And we talked about nutrition in particular when it comes to training and what to put into your body to make this whole thing efficient, that your body works with what you put in as an energy basis and to find a good balance thereafter. And it was quite interesting and revealing as to what you shouldn't be doing and what we really do to make ourselves what we think is relaxation. Like I finished shop here, I can't wait to stick my head in the fridge and have a bottle of wine. Yeah. And I'm in good company. I think everybody I know does the same thing. But it's probably the worst thing you can do. But I'm of the opinion that it actually does relax me. The only thing that I don't find really unsettling on the weekends, if you extend that drinking habit, that it actually unsettles your sleep because you have a very irregular sleeping pattern due to the consumption of alcohol. So it really doesn't fulfill the requirements as I thought it would do.
Well, yeah, I guess, you know, most people, because drinking alcohol or any other stimulants changes your state, doesn't it? Changes your emotional state. And so when people drink, you do feel more relaxed because it's a sedative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, drinking to excess, like a lot of people in the Western world do today, is obviously going to cause multiple other problems, isn't it? So we need to look at other ways, in addition to that, healthier ways, to be able to get that same change of state. For example, meditation is something I do every day myself and also recommend to a lot of people.
That is such a discipline. I've tried this, it lasted exactly a week and then I forgot about it.
Really?
Well, only because I can't even remember how it was inspired, because I was talking to someone and, it was my Feng Shui guru. Yeah. She comes here to do a little bit of Feng Shui because we sort of believe that the energy has to be positive, and I mean, you can believe in a lot of things. I think if the belief is strong enough, it actually works.
Definitely.
And therefore, she was talking about meditation, and then she, like everything, if you do it in small doses, then it will eventually take some effect on your body. And I found the most difficult thing is when meditating is like a big word. It's a bit like social networking. It has sort of a funny slant to it. But when you actually sit down in a room quiet, my brain travels immediately. It finds something that the trail of thought of calm does not progress from there. 2 minutes is long. if it lasts that long, and then I hear bird tweeping, and all of a sudden I'm in a pond and doing something that my brain's not supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be in the room trying to calm myself. So what's your tip on that?
Okay.
How do you do that?
It depends what... it's a good question, by the way, because a lot of people struggle with meditation. I guess the style that I do is called Transcendental Meditation, or TM for short, and it's based on a mantra, repeating a mantra over and over and over again. Yeah. And the way the human brain is structured, other thoughts are going to come into your head, and that is okay. That's the disconnection that people generally get. They think, I'm not supposed to be thinking anything. Essentially, with TM, Transcendental Meditation, you've got a mantra, and we're human beings, aren't we? So other thoughts are going to come in. Or, thinking about what am I going to have for dinner, or whatever,
But you're supposed to refocus back onto the breathing, isn't it?
Well, there's so many different styles. I didn't get on with the breathing one, to be honest. That sounds like mindfulness. Okay, I found that I basically what you said about finding it difficult to come back to the breathing. That particular style, I personally found irritating.
Okay.
The mantra is much easier, or was much easier for me personally. So other stuff comes up, and then you just say, okay, that's fine, let's go back to the mantra. And then you start saying the mantra over and over and over again. And then other stuff might come up about whatever's happened during the day.
So you decide what the mantra is?
You get given it by your teacher in the style that I do.
Oh, so you had a teacher who taught you to do it?
Yes.
Right, okay.
But it's very, very simple. It's just you get given a secret mantra.
Yeah.
Now, I've never told anybody my mantra. It may be that
the world, you're about to do this now.
No, I'm not going to do it now. It's not allowed.
Okay.
The fact is, maybe the same mantra is given to every person, and I told you it's a secret. You can't. I don't know, because I've never told anybody. You know what I mean? But that's the type of meditation I've done for, I think, just over 5 years now.
Okay.
For me, it's been hugely positive in so many respects. Obviously, I've always been pretty chilled anyway, but I'm so much calmer, far more focused, far more productive. I'm much like yourself, Dirk, an entrepreneur, do lots of different things. It helps me focus on lots of things, be more productive, rather than trying to keep 20 plates in the air and, not succeeding in any of them. It allows me to be more productive. And just, it's... Some people say to me, well, what benefit have you got from it? In the beginning, I thought, I can't put it into words. Just feel better.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
What is the time? Right. What is the time that you think it shows benefit? Because I found that it wasn't... It's a bit like losing weight. Yeah. You have a goal, you look in the mirror and you think, oh God, that really looks awful. You didn't have that 5 months ago. How do we get rid of it? So you start doing a workout regime, and you expect by not eating or cutting something out, this result will happen within a week.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's taken you 5 months to get it, so it probably takes 5 months or more than to get rid of. But your brain tells you, if I don't see some result within a week, I'm frustrated.
Exactly.
So what time length of time did you find that you first were receiving the benefits, really?
Looking back, probably a few months, 3 to 4 months, I started to notice, do you know what? This used to happen, now it doesn't. Right. I'll give you an example. When we were talking earlier about how I got into chiropractic, and it was through injury. And what I didn't mention, when I was 15, 16, going from exercising a lot every day to nothing overnight was a huge thing for me, because what I didn't realise prior to that point was exercise was a massive release valve. In other words, I never got stressed. I didn't really know what stress was, because the exercise really helps reduce stress massively. So when I started meditating, prior to that point, if I went through a few weeks where I didn't exercise, it started to creep back into my head. Oh, do you remember when you were a teenager and you didn't exercise, and you couldn't exercise, so you got stressed out and you got depressed? That thought was always in the back of my head prior to meditating. I've got to keep exercising so I can stay healthy physically and mentally. But after meditating just for about 4 or 5 months or so, I started to realise, you know what, sometimes my life is so busy. Occasionally I don't have time to exercise as much as I would like for a couple of weeks. In the past, I would have got stressed out about that. After meditation, or from being a meditator, during those periods where I couldn't exercise intensely, I'd be like, do you know what? It's okay. I'll get back onto it as soon as I can, and then get back into my exercising 3-4 times a week, ASAP. Shribbles.
Bear with me.
It's a nothing word.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to this Business Radio. You can start a conversation with Dr. Danny Scahill, chiropractor, and we've just been talking about TM, which is
Transcendental meditation.
Transcendental meditation. See, it takes 5 minutes. It already left my brain, and I'm really curious and excited about talking about meditation. As I mentioned previously, that I tried it didn't work for me, possibly because I wasn't given the right structure, and now you were talking about you would be happy to share the mantra with us. That's very cool. So the mantra that your brother was given was called?
Yeah, well, just to be clear, this isn't the mantra that I was given in TM.
Okay.
About 20 odd years ago, my younger brother was given a mantra by my mum's best mate.
Okay.
And we never knew whether she did TM or what, to be honest with you, but she gave my younger brother this mantra. And it's a word that means absolutely nothing, and that is the whole point there. And the mantra my brother was given was called Shribbles. The word doesn't mean anything, and that's the whole point, really. So,
what do you do? I mean, it could be any word that doesn't make any sense, but it's a mantra, and the mantra means that you repeat it in your head to focus, to
exactly,
refocus.
Yeah. So if I talk from a transcendental meditation point of view, the idea is to transcend. In other words, if you imagine an ocean which is very choppy, so there's loads of waves at the top, but about 1 foot below the waves, it's a bit calmer, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then 10 foot below, it's a lot calmer, and right at the bottom of the ocean, it's super calm. So the aim is to transcend, go down into a state of transcendence, you could say. So with that, the mantra my brother was given, I don't know whether that was TM or not, but that Shribbles mantra he was given, it's just you sit comfortably, you close your eyes, feet flat on the floor.
Okay, because I was always of the opinion, or as I've been told, that you should take the lotus position, which I find very uncomfortable altogether. And then after 10 minutes, you actually lose the function of your legs, and you can only concentrate on the pain that's coming from underneath rather than focusing on the breathing or the mantra, as it were. So you can sit comfortably in a chair.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and do you know what? You can do it anywhere. You can meditate in a crowded room. It's not ideal conditions. But often when I go get the train into London, there's about 40-minute gap or so.
Okay.
It's perfect for meditation.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So will you close your eyes or?
Close my eyes. Yeah, and the style of meditation I do, TM, 20 minutes meditation, and then afterwards 10 minutes rest.
Okay.
With TM, it's important, it's imperative, in fact, to do the 10 minutes rest after it.
Okay.
To do TM properly, you really need to go to a TM centre, go to an introduction meeting, meet a proper teacher, because I'm not a TM teacher, I'm just a student.
All right.
And learn how to do it properly. It's very simple and it's very effective. I'm sure there's loads of YouTube videos on it, to be honest with you, for the listeners to have a look at.
No, but it's quite nice to hear from someone who has actually experienced it himself.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do it, and I didn't walk away from it. It just happened to not be part of my everyday discipline anymore, and then you're back in the rut of things. If you don't make it a discipline, then you lose that.
Oh, totally.
Because as we spoke of just now, the fact is when you are used to working out and do this every single day or 3 times a week, and you stop doing it for whatever the circumstances are, you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're using that particular half hour for something else that is maybe not as good as the sports was for your body. And I can only speak for myself, because I've always maintained I don't like running because I look stupid, and I can only run so far, then I'm out of breath. What else could I think of? I'm not very good at any kind of sports, really. So I decided that about a century ago, I was a dancer, and I was taught how to relax the muscles, and it was at the bar. It was classical ballet, and I've maintained those exercises just to keep the stretching going and keep the muscles going to a degree. And then you have to make allowances. You get to a certain age where you think, well, if you want to have that refined muscle, then you have to work that a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But if you have got something going on where that time slot is utilized for something else, i.e. I do this every morning religiously, and I've done for the last 20 years, but if you are late or you can't find your bloody keys and you are 20 minutes later, then you would be, that's all of a sudden gone, and you carry that guilt with you all day long. And you think, God, you've failed today. That is quite amazing how powerful this little thing is. And when you say that the mantra then allows you to relax about this, it's okay, you can do this again tomorrow, that's very helpful, really.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, the society that we live in, there's so much stuff around that you say, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, you know what I mean, which instills guilt instantly. You know, and this, I heard a speaker on stage many years ago, I forget who it was now, he says, stop shooting on yourself. You know, so we should has a negative connotation, isn't it? It's like, oh, you should be doing this.
Yeah.
How about I could do this, I want to do this? That's a choice rather than I have to. I have to is another one, I have to do this, isn't it? That's a negative connotation. No, how about I'm choosing to, I want to.
Okay.
Far better, isn't it? Yeah, it's,
you know, this has been a very, very revealing interview for me, because I feel like I've been to therapy. It's very... I've learned a lot. I have to say, let's just take one more small break, and then let's talk to the listeners and let them know where they can find you, how they can be inspired, like I'm totally inspired right now. That's Doug at businessradio.co.uk. I am in conversation with Dr. Danny Scahill, a chiropractor, and so many other things. I'll be back right after this. Before we spoke about your faceted life in form of hobbies, being a DJ for trance music, also meditation is part of your life, which I find fascinating, because I have to go back into that to calm myself down a little bit. Let's go back into your main profession, which is chiropractic. You enjoy doing it, obviously.
absolutely.
Your business is fairly young, but you've gone by yourself, and you told me that's the best decision you've ever made.
Yes, definitely. You know, I talked about balance before, and having my own business allows me that extra balance that, you know, I've always looked for, and I'm sure lots of people are as well. So you mentioned the business is young. It is. It's only 4 months old. However, I've been practicing chiropractic for best part of 10 years now. 2006 I graduated. And you're right in saying it is definitely the best decision I've made, because it allows me to make all the important decisions.
Yeah.
Because I understand, as I'm sure you do, Dex, you're an entrepreneur yourself, marketing is a huge part of business success.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say 80 to 90% plus of business success comes down to marketing. And I mentioned earlier on that I've kind of been a student of marketing for most of my life, always been very entrepreneurial. So having the business of my own where I make all the decisions is great. It just gives me the freedom to implement what I know will work. I've seen work elsewhere, will now implement in mine. I'm a very, very big advocate for role model and success. Find something, whatever the field is, whether it's business or personal life, find somebody who's got what you want or has done what you want to do and model them. Mentor of mine years ago always used to say, model success, and he used to go one step further. He'd say, R&D it, and we'd say, well, what's R&D? And he'd say, rip off and duplicate. Most people would think R&D would be research and development, wouldn't it?
What a good move. That's a very good piece of advice, because I've been doing this, I would say, naturally, because the only way you can survive as an individual in an independent world is to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Because as you can see here, we are sitting in the little iCafe, which is really something that is an accessory to our opticianing downstairs, and the opticians is the smallest one in town. However, we have grown from strength to strength, and the reason why we do this is we do exactly that. We R&D it. So that we do this, but we do it better. We do it with a personal service, and therefore people then come back. The disadvantage is that people come back for you, and then you have to be there for them. You can't put somebody in place that other people are doing. When you're a corporate business, you can put any Tom, Dick and Harry in there because the customer doesn't know them anyway. So they will just get the goods and then walk away from it. And here, it stands and falls with me.
Yeah, spot on. What you're saying there, Dirk, is it's all about expert positioning, isn't it? You've positioned yourself as the go-to, which is what I'm doing with myself with chiropractic. You know, because people say, well, what's your USP? What stands you apart? Well, there's not many chiropractors out there that do eat well, move well, think well.
Yeah.
So a lot of chiropractors just focus on the adjustment. That's a very important part of it. But you've got to look at the exercise, the nutrition, and the mindset as well. Bring everything back into balance, because it's not always something of a physical nature that caused the problem that the patient presents with in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's what sets me apart, really. I do health workshops for patients, and that's mandatory. You know, people need to see that information.
So these health workshops, are they in a group or they're individual?
They're in a group, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the best way to get anybody's message out, I think, is to speak one-to-many, to do workshops. Yes, people might be scared about public speaking. For me personally, I love it. You know, it's any opportunity to share the message, I will take that opportunity. Because the message that I've got to share with the world is an important message.
Absolutely, and I find that because you've got such a rounded field, it's not just chiropractic; it's the whole thing, the whole bundle that you can offer. Where other chiropractors would have to source it out, where you wouldn't necessarily find somebody to talk about nutrition, for example.
Yes.
Yeah. So, where can they find you? Where can the audience find you for our business?
Well, my website, my business is Crawley Chiropractic Centre. And the website is chiropractorcrawley.com.
Great.
I've created a special page on there called chiropractorcrawley.com/businessradio. And on there, your listeners will be able to avail of a special offer there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That should be exciting.
And essentially what that is a half-price first visit.
Okay.
It's usually £50 for that first visit, but for your listeners, Dirk, it's just £25.
Fantastic. Can you just repeat that for us, please?
Absolutely, yeah. So the website is chiropractorcrawley.com/businessradio.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about? I mean, it's been an interesting interview for me, and I believe it's been the same for the listeners as well, because it hasn't been just, I don't know what I was expecting. When you hear Dr. Danny Scahill, that sounds a bit sort of stiff upper lip. It really wasn't, and it has been a total pleasure for me to meet you personally in such detail.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the radio show, Dirk. It's very much appreciated.
We must do this again.
Absolutely, yeah. So just to add on to what I've said already, essentially people say to me always, what's a chiropractor? And I say, essentially, chiropractor is a doctor of the nervous system. The nervous system starts off in your brain. It runs all the way down the spinal cord, and every nerve message runs out to every organ and every tissue in the spine. What we look to do is look for misalignments in the spine. Those misalignments we call a subluxation.
Okay.
So what a chiropractor's job is to reduce and get rid of the subluxations. So your body will then start to heal itself. Pain subsides, movement restores, organs start to function correctly.
Right.
In addition to that, we've got to look at the big picture. Eat well, move well, and think well, and you will be well.
Right.
In a nutshell, that is what we do as chiropractors.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. It was very educational, very interesting. I had a brilliant time. We'll see you again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again. It's been a pleasure, Dirk.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for listening. This is Dirk at businessradio.co.uk. I was in company of Dr. Danny Scahill, chiropractor.